Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Postgame Show podcast presented by PointsBet. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody Delmendo. Later, the birthday boy, Ryan Herrera, will join us from beautiful Wrigley Field. 2-1 over the Phillies. Win number 68 in the push to 70, Cody.
2 more, baby.
And
the season win total over is still alive.
Wow. Now that is big. And it is the epic 8 we have left now.
Yes.
8 epic games to try and get over 70. And, by the way, should the Cubs win out and the White Sox lose out, they could finish with the same exact record this season. Apologies to the White Sox team.
I thought we were going to wait for that.
Wait for that. We are, but I just thought I'd throw up that stat early on.
Stucky couldn't wait to get that one out.
They could finish with the same record this season. Yeah,
that's pretty wild.
Nick G, sweep the Phils, get to 70. Nick G, oof. Yeah, you got that right. Hey, Marcus Stroman was good. We got a lot to talk about.
It was the Stro Show tonight at the Friendly Confines, Stucky. Listen, man. People want to... I've been defending Marcus Stroman all season, man. The guy has... The Cubs don't have the greatest defense out there. You know, they're not obviously they're not a good team. And he's still managed to go out there and give you exactly what you signed him for. Yeah, he's only going to have like 25 or 26 starts instead of 30 because he missed a month. But he literally is giving you essentially the same numbers that he is given every single year. By the end of it, you look at the numbers and you're like, oh, this is basically what it does. And Ryan tweeted out earlier, he's got an ERA under 4. He's at an ERA under 4 most of his career.
Yeah.
I mean, he is not elite. He is not the best pitcher on a good ball club. He's never going to be your number 1. But he is consistent, and he gives you quality innings more often than not.
He's a real nice number 2.
3 starts in September, 7 innings less than 1 run or less.
Yeah, it's 3 straight quality starts.
Yeah, he's been really good towards the end of the season.
I mean, I will say early on it was a little bit of a rocky road. We were talking about the weather, and I was saying this is not what you paid for, but I'm willing to give him a chance. And he's lived up to the contract and this season, and he's done his job. You can't blame the season on Stroman.
No,
he's been.
Maybe they'd have a few more wins if he didn't get hurt. And remember, the reason that he even missed significant time was because he got COVID.
Right, yeah, and then he came back too soon.
And then he came back too soon. They ramped him up too fast, and we know what happened then. But listen, yeah, he's had some bad starts, but every pitcher has a bad start, unless your name's Jacob deGrom. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a quality pitcher, dude. Like, anyone who thinks that this guy can't give you quality innings over the course of a 162-game season, I literally don't know what to look you in the face and tell you in terms of change, in terms of getting you to think that there is good pitchers out there then, because he figures it out. He figures it out by season's end. You see the numbers, you're like, oh, wow, look at that.
The chat is asking if we're going to talk ice cream. No, not after a big win like this, and it's just a little too chilly tonight for ice cream for me.
Yeah, we should be talking about, like, s'mores.
Oh, man, s'mores are legit.
Yeah, because
you make them right, they are good.
It's fall, so, like, I mean, I know we live in Chicago, but, like, there's nothing like a good little fire out in the backyard or something like that.
I saw that my buddy Mike Piff over at WGN Radio makes his s'mores with Reese's instead of just straight chocolate.
I am more of a Reese's guy than I am Hershey's.
I don't want peanut butter mixed with. I'll eat them, but they're not my favorite. Like, it's a little too much peanut butter for me. And anyways, not only was Stroman good, Brandon Hughes was very good.
Yep.
And then
Manny Rodriguez.
Manrod got a chance to prove that he could come through in a big situation, save-like situation.
He didn't even start the inning either, right?
No.
They put Rossi brought Hughes out to face Harper, lefty on lefty, makes sense. He gets a hit on the first pitch, and then Manrod induced 2 ground balls, almost had 2 double plays. one obviously worked, and
right.
then the other one was really close. It was a great slide by Harper into second to kind of help that out for the Phillies. But, I mean, it was a one-run ball game. It was a big moment.
It was.
And the Phillies, they need to win. Like, that wild card race is tight. So these games matter for the Phillies. Cubs playing spoiler, building momentum for next year. And, no one wants to take the wins that they're getting against, the Reds or the Pirates or even the Marlins. They just went out there and beat the Phillies again. They swept the Phillies earlier this year. Now they've won their fourth in a row against the Phillies. What did Cole Wright say before he walked over? 16-4 against the NL East.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, again, I'm always a guy who's like, you play what your schedule is, but they are playing well here at the end of the year. They've been playing decent enough in the second half considering what the roster is. There's a lot to like. There's a lot to be excited about, man. A lot to be excited about, in my opinion. I
would expect that Philadelphia Sports Radio just ended all Phillies conversation tomorrow and flipped completely to the Eagles. If it wasn't already, it was probably already all Eagles, but they won't be kind to the Phillies for losing to the Cubs. That's for sure.
Especially if they lose again tomorrow.
Yeah, I would like to see them get in because I want to see Schwarber in the postseason.
Same, and I think they have the second spot in the wild card right now. And I think Milwaukee's below them, but Milwaukee's getting their butt kicked by the Cardinals tonight because they're a bunch of frauds. But so it's not going to hurt them in the standings. But I mean, again, these games matter to them. They need to win them. They're currently set at 83-70. So think about the teams that get in the postseason. Most usually are winning at least 85, right?
Yeah.
So 1 week left.
I believe it's PS5.lie says, just say it again. Cubs don't need another starter. Let the kids play. Go get some bullpen and 2 or 3 big bats. Do you buy into that? I do not. I still would say
I don't buy
add your number one if you can, and then let those young guys start to feed off each other to get those other spots.
Absolutely. And the only reason I love the thought process by PS5.lie, like that. I think he's saying that because he has a lot of hope and promise from young guys.
Which I understand.
From like guys like Hayden Wisniewski and guys like maybe he still has some hope for Killian, and maybe he thinks Thompson belongs in the rotation with Steele. But besides Thompson and Steele, all of the other guys that I mentioned, they don't have a full season of experience. The Cubs need to go get another proven guy who's done it for years and has been good at it to go into that rotation, and then maybe you can end the rotation with a guy like a Thompson or a Killian if he at some point next season. I think Wisniewski is someone who could definitely earn a spot in that rotation opening day, but we haven't seen enough to where you can say we want that, or we haven't seen enough where we can bank on that and it being successful. So I like his thought process, but you need more experience in that rotation. You need more proven guys.
Hypothetical. The free agent market is better the following year. And I know we all want the Cubs to get at least in the playoffs next year. Don't you think it is still possible to do that if you added 2 big bats, 2 position players? And as PS5 was saying, I mean, their ERA has been great since the All-Star break.
It's true.
And I'm not saying all those guys will be able to repeat that next year, but would it help the team more to have 2 bats that play every day, at least this offseason? If you're only going to bring in 2 big guys and you swing and miss on the free agent pitcher that you're trying to get, would you be satisfied with 2 big bats if it were Correa and / somebody else like that would really Correa and Rizzo? Because we can talk about Correa like he's right, like he's 100% opting out.
Yeah. I do think the Cubs need to get 2 big bats. I do think they need to at least get one starter, preferably a number one. But if they spend more money on position players, but still get a starter who's proven, but maybe is more like what we've seen from Stroman, then at least you have just really good pitching. You just don't have that number one guy that can go out there and you absolutely feel confident in. And maybe Wisniewski could fill into that role eventually.
Yeah.
But that's the things. As good as they have been in the second half starting, the starting pitching at least, there still isn't that one guy. Maybe Justin Steele, maybe he can be that guy.
They have that potential. But for instance, if you got a big name guy, Correa, or whoever your choice is, Trey Turner, whoever, and another guy that's another real. What if Arenado's what if you got Arenado and Correa?
Oh boy,
right?
I'd probably be okay if they didn't.
And Correa ends up at second base, and you got Arenado at third, and you got Nico at short. Yeah. I don't care if Mash Mervis or whoever's at first base, but let's just play that hypothetical out. Then I'm okay with if Smiley is the guy that they bring back. Just to see what happens, because you can always add to that at the trade deadline if you really think, you know what, we're a legit team. I'm not saying don't get a frontline starter. I'm saying if you strike out trying to get the guy you want for the right price, don't just go spend stupid money. Look at the Rangers. They spent $500 million.
Yeah.
And it's getting them the same record as the Cubs. I think worse, actually, going into today. Spend the right money on the right guys. I want them to spend, but I want them to spend on the right guys at the right time. And if Shohei's not in the cards, then maybe you wait for free agency next year for the pitcher if you can't get DeGrom or whoever your next choice would be for pitcher. I don't know. I don't think PS5 Dat Lie's comment is that far off. I don't want them to do a frontline guy just because they're desperate to get a number one.
Yeah.
Stroman has shown me with Steele, and I know you can't count on Hendricks, but if you have Hendricks and Thompson and Wisniewski and some guys, you do have some arms that, boy, if some of those guys pan out again next year, you could do a lot of damage with a much better lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, we've talked about how the way the Cubs front office has completely flipped the script in terms of how they're building this one. First rebuild back 10 years ago, they just got a bunch of bats and, it led to the Cubs win the World Series. Now they've got a bunch of pitching, right? And now they need to spend on position players at certain spots. So he's not far off. I guess the thing that holds me back is there just isn't a lot of experience on this roster on the pitching side. They've been great, but also the Cubs have had a very easy second half schedule. And again, I understand you got to play your schedule the way it is. I just wish we could have seen this pitching in the first half as well. If we would have got this type of pitching the entire season, first off, we wouldn't have this bad of a record, I don't think. But if we would have had this type of pitching the entire season, then yeah, I'd probably be more about getting more position players and more help on the offense than on the pitching, because clearly the Cubs are showing that the pitching is very fruitful right now, right? They're just throwing guys out there and then they're figuring it out, and it's been really fun to watch. So, I like the idea of it. To me, I feel like you need one big veteran. This show didn't exist yet, or CHGO didn't exist yet, but when the Cubs signed Stroman last year, I felt like he was potentially a Lester-like signing. And of course, this was in the middle of the winter when I thought they were going to still spend on another big one, a big, free agent or something like that. And I just thought Stroman would be like that workhorse that would stay healthy and be able to give you 30 starts and give you really good quality starts. And for the most part, he has, besides, being on the IL for a little bit and whatever because of COVID. But, I'm willing to go back on that a little bit, because John Lester was a clear number one, number two guy.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we've seen Stroh, as good as he's been of late, he's had more duds than I would like from a number one. You know what I mean? And he's
not John Lester, but
right,
that's not.
He's like,
That's
it's
not
hard
a
to be John
cut.
Lester. That guy's a future Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Like, he's just been consistent. He's been consistent from what you look at his numbers from years past with the Blue Jays and the Mets. He gave you the same production as he has given those teams in the past. So to me, it's like you just need that one guy. That one guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think Stroman's been exactly what you're saying, and exactly what I think back to before the season when Dan Plesac was on. He said, you're getting a guy that's going to eat innings, and they're going to be quality innings.
Yeah.
He's not going to call him an ace, but he's a guy that's going to give you 200 good innings.
Right.
Most times.
Unrelated, Ryan Herrera just said in the Slack, the game was 2 hours and 16 minutes, the Stuckey special.
Boom.
So second best game of the year.
This is one of my favorites. There's no question about it. And it started at 6:40.
I know.
Those are the beauties, huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, we talk about these big deals. Correa, right? He signed 3 years, $105 million with the Twins, but it's full of opt-outs. You read the articles, you see, since August he's slashing 323, 405, 505 since August 1st. He's a 5 wins above replacement. He's a 4.2 F-WAR. And I think there's a lot of people that say, okay, that's the guy you go after. He's going to get a ton of money. Lavelle Neal of the Minnesota Star Tribune, I can't decide if he's excited about trying to keep him in Minnesota or if he's just like, you know what, I'm not sure. Joey, do we have that quote from Lavelle Neal? He's basically saying, listen, he's going to ask for $35 million, X amount of years on a long-term deal still. Basically what he had, only he wants it longer. And, if the Cubs had signed it to that last year, he'd already be 1 year into that. He says, it only takes one idiotic owner to agree, and I'm worried that owner has already presented himself, and that's Tom Ricketts of the Chicago Cubs, who has pledged to spend money this offseason, and they were interested in Correa in the past. So I'm wondering about Correa to the Cubs in a deal. So, and he goes on and on. Do you think $35 million multi-year, let's say 8 years, is it idiotic? I'd be happier to pay him 40 and do it for 5.
Yeah. I mean,
that's still a lot of cheese.
That's a lot of money, but I think that's the best way for the Cubs to avoid having another Hayward type deal. And I think Correa will be better than Hayward ever was with the Cubs if that were to happen.
Yeah.
But man, 8 years is a lot. It's investing a lot into one guy. And I don't know. The only, it makes sense to give out that. I mean, he's going to be what, 27, 28 next year?
28?
I think he's going to be 28. This year he's 27. Trey Turner, he's going to be 30. Bogarts is going to be 30.
Go get both of them. Put one at third, one at second, Nico at short.
Let's just get them all, right?
Arenado could play first, couldn't he? With Mash. Mash is the DH.
Yeah, right? Now we're really talking.
Get rid of Franmil.
Now we're really talking. Mike Dubs, he's a Chicago guy, but lives in Minneapolis, says Lavelle is a Chicago guy up here. Twins fans think he's signing back with the Twins. No way he signs with the Twins.
I'll be floored if he ends up with the Twins.
Yeah, I will.
I'd be absolutely floored. They're going to finish third place in a total garbage division.
Right.
And he's in Minnesota.
Yeah.
No way is he staying there.
No.
I'll be floored. I know he had said he wasn't interested in a rebuild, yada, yada. But when he would look and see what's really going on here, I think he'll change his tune on that.
Yeah.
If you offered him the right amount of money. I have seen that the Phillies are said to be interested in Correa as well.
A lot of teams are going to be interested in Correa.
Who are they getting rid of when they start adding that contract?
Right. They're already paying so much money to so many guys.
Absurd.
And they're not even like a top team in their division.
No.
I mean, I understand they got to do whatever it takes to compete with the Braves and the Mets, but I mean, I guess at least you can say that their front office cares or that their owner cares.
Only takes one idiotic owner. And somehow, as Robbie pointed out, Michael is not here tonight. For the first time in a long time, Michael Collada not here when we have a quote that actually puts idiotic and rickets in the same breath from a reporter. And Michael missed out on it.
Michael missed out. Hopefully he listens to these shows
Isn't
back.
that a shame?
That's a shame. Oh, man.
How ironic is that? He's been waiting for this moment forever. Well, I mean, the Phillies have done big deals. You would have to move somebody, I would think, to afford $35 million more to that team.
Yeah. Listen, we've talked about shortstop, the infielders, whatever, all season, man, because this team stinks, so we've had to talk about the future a lot. But I will take any of them. Correa,
yes.
Trey Turner,
yes.
Xander Bogaerts.
Yes.
I don't care. I'll take either. Like Luke said, I'd take all three if Ricketts want to shell out that
Arenado,
kind of money.
Yes.
I'd take them all. Correa's younger, so I do kind of lean to him a little bit more. Last I checked his numbers, he was not having a year that I expected, but then you tell me his numbers going into tonight. And
they've really picked up.
And since August 1st, he's hitting 323, 405, 505. It's like...
Since August, he's got the 10th best batting average in baseball. He's got 8 home runs.
Yeah. And he gives you good defense up the middle. So imagine if you got Horner and Correa up the middle, or if you're going to put Correa at third. You got elite defense on one side of the field if you do that. You got elite defense up the middle if you do that.
Here's an
idea.
The
shift is going away
That's
next
right,
year. Yeah. That's a big deal. So
how about Sean's idea? He has a plan for next year. Mash Mervis at DH and sign Abreu to play first as the middle finger to the White Sox. On a short-term deal, that's not crazy.
Abreu has mashed at Wrigley. He's a Cubs killer, man. That would be pretty funny.
We'll get.
I wouldn't be against it. I mean, he'd be like a 1-year deal type guy, like a
short term until you find out whether or not Mash can do it.
He could be like a nice veteran to help groom Mervis a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Jack says we have to put Nico at second next year. I don't know. I don't know about
man.
that.
I don't know about that. They were talking all great about him on the broadcast tonight. Top
he double
10?
clutched, big deal.
Yeah, but then they talked about how it was not normal because he's been so good defensively and one of the top players in outs above average. We've seen the defense all year. I think Nico's proven he can play short, but I also think you can move him around too. He doesn't have to be your everyday shortstop. The Cubs put Javi Baez at shortstop every single day when he was here, and I always thought he was better at second base, to be honest with you.
We'll get to the White Sox, by the way, in a second. We'll give them their moment in time. Cody, you went to the big tailgate, the first CHGO tailgate over at Michigan and Roosevelt. A couple hundred people out there.
I did.
I saw breakfast tacos with carne asada and scrambled eggs.
So good. The food was so good. We had such a great time. Stuck, I wish you could have been there.
I know. I almost was there, but now I've locked myself into definitely coming for the two it sounds like there's going to be a couple coming up in November.
Yes. Yeah,
so that's at the same location. I'm all in on that.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Greenridge Farm, if you're going to a tailgate, Greenridge Farm's something nice to have in your mixture. You always want to have good food, but some of those meat sticks.
When we had the Sox tailgate this year, because we're going to talk about the Sox here in a little bit, Greenridge Farms gave us a bunch of great food.
Yeah, you were eating meat sticks for a week.
Yeah, meat sticks. I had so many meat sticks.
Greenridge Farm is a Chicago local meat and cheese company offering you a better all-natural option. Makers of all-natural deli meat, sausages, and their famous meat sticks. Perfect for tailgating, happy hour, school lunches. All-natural meat sticks that are hardwood smoked for 8 hours with 16 grams of protein per stick, making a perfect post-workout snack. Meat sticks coming in chicken, Black Forest beef, flavors like jalapeno cheddar and spicy chili. If you haven't tried them yet, you don't know what you're missing. Delicious because they're made from recipes generations in the making, and being all natural, they deliver a fresh, flavorful alternative at snack time. You can always find them in the refrigerated section at Costco, Sam's Club, or your local Chicagoland grocery store. Right now, when you order any 3 meat products at greenridgefarm.com and include a pack of meat sticks in your cart, those meat sticks are free simply by using the code CHGO at checkout. Greenridge Farm, simply natural meat. Cody, game time tickets is something to also keep in mind when you're doing some of these tailgates or for one of these final home games at Wrigley Field.
When we were at the tailgate, everyone kept looking at game time, like in the 11 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
They were like, I can't decide if I want to go to the game or not.
It looked like it might rain a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't expect rain. All of a sudden, it was showers in the area.
Yeah, so like Ryan, I'm pretty sure they got their tickets on game time when they were at the tailgate. Him and his family, yeah.
On no sleep.
On no sleep after going out the night before for his birthday. I mean, the guy was running on, I don't know what he was running on. I don't know what 25-year-olds are running on these days because I'm 31, but
probably Owen.
Maybe some athletic greens.
Yeah, athletic greens and Owen, nothing but the best.
Yeah.
And meat sticks.
And meat sticks, absolutely.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, meat sticks.
That's the meal
paradise right there.
Bachelor's paradise, absolutely stuck. Like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna eat that tomorrow for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I can already feel my body tingling from the thought of it.
I'd cut up some of that jalapeno meat stick and put it on my Rice Krispies.
Ooh, that doesn't sound great.
It does not sound good. Ravi says Game Time app, hell of an app.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, Game Time is the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score those best deals on tickets to whether it's sports, concerts, shows. If you ever dreamed about sitting in that killer seat you thought you couldn't afford, the 50-yard line, courtside, behind home plate, floor seats at a concert, now it might be possible with the Game Time app. They have the biggest last-minute price drops that are found on seats you thought you could never buy, and you won't find a better deal this season. Cubs tickets, Bears tickets, Bulls, Blackhawks, created by the fans, for the fans. Guaranteed, that's key, a guaranteed lowest price on the ticket. If you love CHGO, you're going to love Game Time. The best way to support us is buying your tickets through the link in the description here. Join over 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and scored the best seats to all your favorite events. I have a note here that we should pour one out for the White Sox World Series run.
What was your favorite part of the White Sox World Series run? Look.
I'm not big on busting on the Sox. I did cheer for them a little bit when I was a fan as a kid growing up. Like, I liked both Chicago teams. Yeah. I was obviously much more Cubs fan. But when we got free tickets through school, I went to those Sox games, you know? Mm. I liked the 83 Sox.
I have a question.
Here's the deal. We got all this hype, and we took a lot of grief on this podcast.
We did.
The Cubs,
I took a lot of grief.
Taking this. We got Paul coming in here every night, just busting on us left and right. If the Cubs win out and the Sox lose out, the final 8 games, they finish with the same record. And you know what? They're going to win the same amount of playoff games.
Yeah. You know,
again,
it's not even to me. It's not even just this year. It's been the last 3 years. I've had to hear thanks Cubs. I've had to hear about how the Cubs I've had to hear about how Cubs fans sat around and thought there was going to be a dynasty, and you know, we did it. We completely fucked it up. I mean, they kind of did, yes, right, but it's all coming from a franchise that hasn't won a playoff series since 2005.
That's correct. Wow. I mean, it's
a tough day if you have a tattoo on your right bicep that says 2022 AL Central Champions White Sox. Like, it's a tough day.
It's been a tough time for them.
Yeah.
The Sox podcast has become increasingly more angry by the night. The times when I said, listen, we'll take Moncada for Wisdom and Hap, and they laughed in my face.
They definitely laughed in
Tonight,
your face,
they
Luke.
want Moncada for Wisdom and Hap. That's all I'm saying.
I got it out of my system. I didn't even really have a lot in my system. I just want to say, and this is more of just like, I just love the support that we've gotten here during this tough time.
Yeah. I mean, they're trying to lose, let's be honest.
Right. And, you know, during the Crosstown Cup this year, I remember there was one game I came on here. It was the very first game. I sat in this chair and I just looked dead inside for 45 minutes of that hour, and I was pissed off. And everyone, all the Sox fans were giving me crap in the chat, saying I was salty and all this stuff.
I do remember that now, yes.
I was mad, and I was more mad at the Cubs for blowing that game because they should have won that game. And everyone said that the White Sox were going to be significantly better than the Cubs and that they were going to go, just run away with that division, and they were just not. They were going to get it going after that series.
What's the guy's name? Was it Paul?
And I've been waiting forever.
Paul, yeah.
Paul used to come in here. He'd say, Herb is your dad, Cody.
I said
yes.
we missed.
Where are you, Paul? We haven't seen you in quite a while, Paul.
Man? Yeah. Where are you at, Paul? Where are you at?
Who's dad's now?
He's not coming back.
This is.
I hope he gets better.
The Cubs are bad, and we don't really have any room to gloat, but
no,
it's not easy to win the World Series. A lot of people, to this day, still say that to just throw shit at me, say that the Cubs got lucky in Game 7. It's like, well, yeah, maybe they had some luck go their way in Game 7.
Don't start that with me. Cliff Polite helped them win a World Series. He was unhittable in the World Series. So,
Scott Pacenda hit his one home run and hit his one homer of the year in the World Series.
Both teams had some luck on the way to the World Series. But you know what? You got to win a playoff series.
Right. You got to win games to get into the playoffs, right?
Yes. In that division?
It's not easy to be a winning ball club in Major League Baseball. You can put together a team that looks great on paper, but if that team doesn't gel, you're going to look like what the 2022 White Sox looked like. At the end of the day, you will. Because you look at that team on paper and you're like, that team should have ran away with this division this year. They have what will probably be a top 3 AL Cy Young winner on their team, and they're not going to make the playoffs. Yeah. So I'm done now. All I'm saying is I'm done hearing about how the Cubs fucked it up and the White Sox are going to dominate the next decade. Win a playoff series, make the playoffs and win a playoff series before you talk shit to me ever again.
And finally, thanks, Sox, for an enjoyable 2022. By the way, I saw Corey has checked in. He went to the game tonight.
He was.
He's going to join us tomorrow, and he said something like, he's just happy for me, 2 hours and 16 minutes.
Yeah, he also said Joey the GOAT on the soundboard. I don't know, though. I do have a couple things. So we had a good question here from Garrett Johnson back on the Cubs talk. It might be one to wait for Ryan because he's kind of the guy that has a little bit of his finger more on the guys getting called up and down. But he's wondering if Canario at AAA after the season ends. But there's also one more I wanted to read.
He's on
PS5.lie. Cubs might not be good, but you guys are great every time. Love you all. We got 62 guys in the chat. We're 33 minutes into the show. The Cubs have lost.
Shucks.
The Cubs are going to win maximum 70 games. It's very cool.
No, not yet, Joey.
It's very cool that we got
76 is still alive, brother.
All you guys rocking with us. Appreciate it. Ravi was asking earlier. We're gonna be keeping the shows going all off season, but you guys are the real heroes. So thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you.
We're not going anywhere.
We'll be here all October.
We're gonna talk about
cheering against the Cardinals.
Yeah, we'll be talking about Aaron Judge for the next 3 months. Trying to get Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Carlos Correa. The Carlos Correa podcast may just be an every Friday thing.
Yeah, and we'll have more mailbag podcasts too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right?
No, we got a pretty good turnout tonight for a team that traded away their entire bullpen, tried to trade away their best 2 players at the start of the season. Nico's probably the best player on the team now, but
David says, "How many likes are there? Get on that thumbs up." We got
likes.
14. We got 14 and 60 watching.
14 likes is not enough.
I would like to be at least by 30 by the end of this show.
That's how many the Sox have won since the All-Star break, isn't it? 14? Is that too low?
I think that's too low.
That was too low.
Let's give him more.
That was directed at Paul, but again, somebody said Paul is a coward for not showing up. Paul's not a coward. We actually like Paul. He was fun. It was just he was coming at us hard early in the season as if the White Sox were going to win the World Series, and now we can all spend the winter as angry Bears fans together.
Yes. This moment was just it's like every tweet I send out after the Cubs win. It's just nice to win one. And this 10 minutes we were talking about this. It's just nice to win one. It's nice to be back in the win column when it comes to this bullshit.
Christopher Morel, you had a good stat. Hit his 15th home run today. Almost made a really nice catch in center field.
Oh, so close.
Cubs rookies in history with 15 or more homers and 10 or more stolen bases. Morel in 22, KB in 15. Then you got to go back to 64 and 51.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good company for a guy that, again, coming into this season, very few people had heard of him. Very few.
Anytime you're in a stat that has Chris Bryant in it, I think that you might be a pretty good baseball player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially when you're talking about 2015 Chris Bryant, 2016 Chris Bryant. Like
2015 Chris Bryant was like a 7-WAR player, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, Morel hasn't been that.
He's been a top 5
rookie
bright spot on the team.
That and rookie in the National League.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, like if I had to say 5 bright spots, I'm not going to go through them all, but if I had to pick 5 bright spots for the Cubs this season, Morel's got to be on there. Like he came out of nowhere.
Right.
15-plus homers, 10-plus stolen bases.
There was a point where we all thought that he might get sent back down just because we were afraid.
And he's played all over the field.
Yeah.
So he's had no consistency about where he's at defensively.
Yep. And it hasn't affected his game.
Not enough that it's been a problem.
I'm at a point now where I like him more up the middle or in center field more than I do at third, unless he works on his throwing to first base from third. I really like him up the middle. I really like him out in center. What's good about him is that like he's not going to play in any one of those spots every single day. It's it's going to be dependent on who's pitching and the lineup and all that. And we've seen him perform in certain spots of the lineup. He was leading off for a little bit. He's been at the bottom of the lineup of late. I did like how he hit the ball tonight though. He hit the homer, then he almost hit another one.
Yeah, he hit another
109 miles per hour off the bat to dead center. I mean, I know it's this second half of the season. There's been a lot more bad than good, I think, because
he's 23 now.
Right.
He's gone from 22 to 23.
Right. But
pretty good.
He looks like a guy. That guy, he's going to be something on this team next year, and I think it's very months ago we were like, don't get too excited. Like he could really fall off. Like
now it's don't get too excited. If you have to get Ohtani, they're going to want Morel.
Right.
And a lot more.
Right. I think there's a lot to be excited about with him and his future. So, and I love that his home run tonight was an Oppo taco on Taco Tuesday, right? So that's cool. And I think Ryan, I asked on Twitter, like, was that the first opposite field homer of the year for him? Because it felt like it. And I think Ryan told me it was his third.
Yeah.
So, hey, that's one of the things I like about him is like sometimes he can take the ball the other way. He's not a straight pull hitter, but a lot of his homers have been pulled to left field, right? Like I said, he 15 and 3 of them have been Oppo tacos.
Yeah.
So,
I think he's been a breath of fresh air. Like PS5 is saying, he's great energy to a team. I don't know what it is. Like he does have as they say on the team, he's got $1 million smile. He's high-fiving people. He's handshaking the umpires. He's tipping the cap to the other team, to the first baseman, to the first base coach, pretty much everybody. There is something to be said with even when he's struggling, the fact that this guy's on the field, and then this sounds corny, but like the fact that he's playing with that energy and with a smile on his face. Like I tell you one thing, I guarantee it draws in a fan base. You root harder for a guy. Let me put it this way. If he were, for instance, Jay Cutler, right? Jay got a lot of grief because he had the mopey, pouty face, right? And he was crucified for it his whole career. Everything he did was mopey. He's been so much more likable after he played in the NFL because he's been on and been shown a little personality. There's something to be said for going out there and just having fun and showing people that you're having fun.
Right. I mean,
even when you're struggling.
I mean, he's basically kind of taken Javi Baez's spot in terms of that guy.
Oh, yeah, but
of being that kind of guy, right? Like,
yes.
It didn't matter how big of a slump Javi Baez was in, how many times he struck out in a game or whatever. I felt like you always got the same energy from him, though, in terms of, whether he was on the field and, you know, making a defensive play and like his reaction after it or before it or whatever. Like, you always got a good. There's so many gifts of Javi Baez for a reason, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be so many gifts of Christopher Morel in the next year that, like, again, I'm not comparing the two in terms of the type of player. I'm saying as a person, like, is the same type of vibes as Javi Baez in terms of energy guy.
Yeah.
Someone that can be a real fan favorite real quick.
By the way, Javi's home. Speaking of the White Sox earlier,
the
fact that they were booing Javi again is just so comical. And then when he hits that home run and he's running around the bases with the Hulk Hogan, let me hear you, brother.
Oh, hear you, brother. I don't get it, man. I'm never gonna get
Javi
it.
Maniacs.
I love it.
He loves to play the White Sox, and he loves an audience for sure. Hey, by the way, Ryan Herrera is going to be joining us here in a second. Chicago, if you've already got the best coverage for your favorite teams, that's us. Now get fitted out in the best sports gear around. Foco has you covered from Soldier Field to the front room, north side, south side, hoodies, slippers, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. Get all decked out like tomorrow with apparel from the leader in sports merch and collectibles, Foco. Looking for that perfect gift for your football fan in your life? Foco's got you covered with hoodies to fight the Lake Michigan breeze. Check out Foco.com and click the link in the description below for all the non-presale items. Use the promo code CHGO for 10% off. And, Cody, you're the one that introduced us to Chi-Town Cornhole.
Yeah, I love Chi-Town Cornhole.
They're, first of all, we had some of the bags out at the tailgate, correct?
Yeah.
They custom made us some CHGO ones with the LED lights. You want to do the cornhole?
Yeah. Chi-Town Cornhole, custom cornhole, #1 cornhole provider for Chicagoland and Illinois since 2007. And they really will make you anything, especially sports related. The guy always tags me in tweets when it's related to Illinois basketball. He always tags me in Illinois basketball, or not even just Illinois basketball, just Illinois related cornhole sets. I call them bags. I'm always going to call them bags, but whatever. Their signature box style design can be digitally printed, covered in vinyl, and painted. Their cornhole boards come up with built-in drink holders recessed in on the back. I think I said that right. LEDs that light up the hole and exterior, handles for easy carrying and handcrafted scorekeepers. They're veteran owned and operated, and they ship anywhere. They offer local pickups as well, specializing in corporate designs for your company's next marketing or social event, wedding gifts, and gifts for all occasions, and especially for tailgaters and backyard barbecues. So shout out to Chi-Town Cornhole. I really do appreciate those guys. And they tag me in all kinds of other stuff too, but I always remember them mainly for that because I think they're big Illini fans.
And it's good merch.
Yeah.
It's good merch. Can we bring in the birthday boy? I believe he's there. There he is.
Happy
Hello.
Is that a birthday hoodie? Was that a birthday present? Did you unwrap all the
birthday
presents already?
To you.
Ryan Herrera joining us from beautiful Wrigley Field. Happy birthday.
How are you alive after the weekend that you
Yeah,
did?
let's start with that.
Let's try something here. If you're in the chat right now, let's spam a happy birthday, Ryan. If you're in the chat right now, I need every single person to comment happy birthday, Ryan.
Oh, there's two in a row.
Appreciate it. I'm like, what is it? I'm still alive, but I'm barely breathing. Like that's the lyric. Yeah, that's where I'm at on this mighty fine Tuesday night.
Did you have any sleep between the golf outing Saturday and whatever went down Saturday night into the Bears tailgate and then the Bears game? Was there any time spent sleeping on your actual bed?
No, not on my actual bed. No, no, but I slept a few hours
In the
not
car
many.
or what?
At my friend's apartment in the city. I crashed on a couch.
Man, oh
And
man.
So he did
recliner,
get
too.
sleep.
Wasn't even,
He got some
wasn't
sleep.
Wasn't a bed. Wasn't even like a couch I could lay out on. It was like a
Yeah.
recliner that like went halfway back. So that's
Recliner sleep is not the same, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No. So that's right. I got a few hours, but not a whole lot.
Well, you had a lot of work to do today when you got to the ballpark, right? Busy. Let's start with Wilson. You know, The Athletic, we saw Sahadev basically putting out, what he believes is the case with Wilson, that he's not going to want he might sign the qualifying offer, but he's not going to really want it. He wants a bigger deal, and he thinks it's very unlikely. I'm in that boat that I think they'll give him the qualifying offer. I don't think he'll take it because I think whether or not it's realistic, I think he's still going to want to look for the big payday, which he's certainly earned that right. But talking to him, what were your impressions of what he wants?
Yeah, so I think the big thing is, kind of ask what matters most to him, kind of where his priorities lie. And he said that he just wants to be in a place that he feels wanted, and a place that he feels appreciates what he brings. And it kind of struck me as like a weird thing to say. Like, I don't want to speculate too much on his exact feelings, but I don't know if you guys read it the same way, but it kind of felt like that's not what he's getting here,
right,
in Chicago. Like,
yeah,
like maybe he's saying that because he wants to feel wanted, and he hasn't been feeling wanted. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but that's kind of how it struck me. But that's what he said is like kind of really, really important to him. Is just feeling wanted, feeling that like he's in a place that appreciates what he brings to the table on and off the field. And we talked about the qualifying offer and whether he'd consider taking it. He said he didn't say yes or no either way. He didn't rule it out. But he said it's definitely something they'd have to think about, him and his camp. So that's, if the Cubs, I don't know if the Cubs had this whole plan of offering the qualifying offer and then him not taking it and going somewhere else. Like that whole plan might blow up in their face, and they might, if they were wanting to move on from Wilson Contreras this offseason, like there's certainly still a possibility that he's back for another year if they do indeed extend that qualifying offer.
Oh, wow. On YouTube, birthday card straight from Joey. It's handcrafted.
They should like screen grab this and tweet it. Like everyone should grab this right now and tweet it out, and then tag Ryan.
Are you trying to hurt my feelings? Because if so, you have succeeded.
Tag Ryan, tag CHGO Cubs. I'll retweet every single one of them.
I do agree with what you're saying, Ryan. I feel like what he was saying was kind of pointing out like I don't feel super wanted, which I think that's natural for any player who's going through what he is.
Yeah.
But when you add on the fact that he's like one of the most emotional players that I've seen them ever have, like wears his emotions on his sleeve more than any player I can remember in Cubs history during playing. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily in the locker room. I'm talking about on the field, off the field, anytime you talk to him. I think that's 100% how he feels. And that may not be the case. I'm just saying, like, I'd be stunned if that's not how he feels. So I think that's what his point was with that. Like, I want to feel wanted, and I understand that. Yeah. He's earned that right.
Right. We kind of talked about it in pregame, right? Like, it's weird how this has progressed throughout the year. Because remember on April 1st and the whole TikTok and everyone made fun of me for falling for your stupid joke, Luke? And I was going to be completely...
I forgot about it. Oh, that was epic.
And I was going to be completely
Joey
like... I was completely bamboozled, led astray. I
traded the Yankees for unknown prospects. The only thing crazier would have been if we said Cubs have decided not to trade Wilson Contreras.
Right. Like, I wouldn't say that I don't want him here. It's more of like, I just don't think Wilson Contreras is the number one priority going into the offseason. I think he's like the fourth or fifth priority. And
he's not going to want that.
Right. And the thing is like, Yan Gomes has played. You look at Yan Gomes' numbers and you're like, this guy hasn't played well at all, but like got a big hit tonight to win the game. He's had moments, and I think the Cubs like his defense a lot more, and I think that's the thing. I think if you don't bring back Contreras, then you definitely need to go get another catcher, because I don't think you can I don't think Higgins and Gomes can be your catchers next year.
No, and Amaya's just had
Amaya's
a horrible
hurt again,
run of luck.
Right? Like I would feel differently about this entire situation with Contreras if Amaya was ready and was going to be able to make his major league debut next year. And maybe he will be able to, but he's still like he got hurt again, and he's not going to go to the fall league now. And that, to me, that's a step back. And so, like, maybe he makes his debut next year, like, mid-season. But, like, he's not even throwing. When he was playing, they were using him as a DH. So, like, that's why I'm like, And that's why I would like to have Contreras. But it's crazy how I feel completely different now than I did in April. Because in April, I was like, oh, give this guy, like, a 4 or 5 year extension. Now it's more like, give this guy a 2 or 3 year extension. And, you know, let's see what happens. But I don't even know if Contreras wants that. I don't know how much money he's going to be wanting. But given how the trade deadline went, I don't know if any team's really going to want them unless Jed really overplayed his hand.
No, and because he's attached to a compensatory pick, that's going to hurt his value too. I don't know. I just don't think he's coming back because I think he's an emotional guy. I don't think the Cubs, as he says, almost value the type of catcher that he is.
Yeah.
For their rebuild. That's not necessarily the priority for the type of catcher that they want. I think they think money can be spent in other positions with the DH and with a young pitching staff and all these young pitchers coming up. They're going to focus on the defensive side first. Not to say he hasn't improved himself. He has.
Yeah.
But I just think they're going to put their money other places.
Yeah, and again, I see some people in the chat saying, you know, I want Willie to stay. Again, I'm not saying that just because I have him as my fourth or fifth priority, that doesn't mean that I don't want him to stay. It's just the Cubs, we've seen guys come up and play very well for this team. We've seen guys in the minors that have emerged, you know, Matt Mervis, Alexander Canario, like we've seen that. And then the fact that there's been so many things pushed out there that the Cubs are going to spend this winter, like, I just think they need to spend their money more on a starting pitcher or, you know, whether it's a Correa or Turner or Bogarts or
two of the three
or Aaron Judge. Like, I just think that is more important than Wilson Contreras. And, like, it pains me in a way to say that, but, like, if the Cubs didn't have another catcher right away, then maybe I'd feel differently. But, like, I think the other two guys have been fine, and you can go get yourself another defensive-minded catcher to go with them. And if you're okay with not really getting a ton of offense production from your catcher, but you got three catchers that are really good, you know, on the defensive side, then you're going to take that risk. But if you have a really good lineup on top of that already, it probably outweighs it anyway.
You know what's funny is,
I mean, I will.
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
I was gonna say I will say that. As far as like when you look at just not modern, but like just how recently teams have gone about winning and lineup construction and all that good stuff. For the most part, not like the catchers haven't been. There's been a few teams that have won recently that like the catchers were giving below league average value offensively. Like it was all about how well they've done controlling the pitching staff or controlling the run game, whatever, like the defensive presence, like what do you bring as a catcher has been a lot more important for winning teams. I mean, you look at what Yan Gomes has done since Wilson's been out. It's been almost a month. The pitching staff's been excellent, since the All-Star break. I mean, Luke, that one time you talked about how Yan Gomes caught a one-hitter or something like that. Like you're happy about it. But that's true. I mean, he does a really good job working with the pitching staff. And, you know, this month in September, he's in like the 90-something at WRC+. So just below league average hitter. But he brings so much to the table defensively. He's on the older side. He's a veteran, obviously. He's been around for a while, so he's not going to be your catcher of the future or anything. But I think like if the Cubs go into it next year with Yan Gomes and PJ Higgins as their two catchers, like that's not like the worst case scenario in their mind. And then that could be, I guess, what they hope is a stopgap for Miguel Amaya, or if somehow was it Moises Ballesteros can blow up next season, he could be like they're not hoping that Yan Gomes and PJ Higgins are a long-term answer, but that they provide enough value for next season is my gut is that they could provide enough value to just hand it over to whoever is next. Miguel Amaya, Moises Ballesteros, whichever one of those guys might be next, like that's what they want to do.
Or the next Yan Gomes. You know, like I just think that they've – and it's one thing that's funny about it is I think Cody and I have totally almost flipped our opinion on this. Like I was a hardcore sign him, sign him, sign him, sign him. Now that the trade deadline happened and they didn't trade him, and now you see how good some of the young pitchers could be, and you see that they could add another pitcher, and if they add, and I understand what some of the people in the chat are saying, like, well, you're going to create another hole if you let him go offensively in the lineup. I get that. I just feel like we've kind of, I don't know why, but I'm just guessing that maybe part of the reason that we've changed our minds a little bit, or maybe a lot of it on this, is that we've kind of seen a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm starting to look at it and go, Jed's plan isn't crazy.
Yeah.
Some of these young guys could, right? Like they might have hit on some of these guys. When he gets Wesneski for Efros, you're like, my confidence in the Jed pool has gone way up.
Right.
Based on just the Wesneski deal. Like, we were kind of like, Efros, what are they doing? They get back a guy, and all of a sudden he may be their best pitching prospect.
Right.
So maybe they're on the right track with this catching thing, too. I don't know. Like, I like Wilson as a player. I think he'll always be a Cub favorite.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm saying I don't want him back, but like Cody's saying, he has to be lower, unfortunately for him, because I want him to get his payday. Unfortunately for him, he's got to be lower on their priority list.
Yeah. I would, at this point, I would love if he just took the qualifying offer and you go one more year and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They might be so good that they're like, all right, let's go with.
And you know, he wouldn't want to hear this from his agent or whatever, but like one more year, maybe he has an even better year next year and you're on a winning team, and maybe, you know, a lot of the stuff we heard at the deadline is the fact that, you know, teams didn't like how he calls a game and like all this kind of stuff. Like maybe he takes that and tries to improve on it for next year. I don't know. To me, based off what we saw at the deadline, and again, I'm choosing to believe that Jed didn't overplay his hand and they see value in him. And I can understand why others don't, like Luke.
No, I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Right. But
the stock is going up with the Wesneski deal.
Right. So
quite a bit.
I think that perhaps, especially since Wilson was out.
He's been out.
He's been out for a little bit, right? Like he hadn't played since August 30th or something like that until today, and it's September 27th. It'd been a month, right?
Really, he got hurt in the Iowa game.
In the
trip to the Corn.
Yeah, the Field of Dreams. Yeah. So you know, he hasn't really been healthy in the second half. That's been a thing that's been on his back for years. This isn't the first year that he's played well in the second half.
The catcher's going to wear him down.
Right. Like, you know, we referenced the article from The Athletic in pregame. Like, maybe if they can transition him to not only DH but also first base, I think there's value there. I think that if you can find a way to platoon with him, Mervis, and Wisdom next year, if he decides to come back, I think there's value there. He can still catch 1 or 2 days a week, but if he does that too, or DHs, I think there is value there.
Ryan's shaking his head no.
But if he wants to catch every single day, I just don't think
he can't do that.
I just don't think that the Cubs are going to be interested in that.
I don't think he could do that, but I also think that's too many first basemen. That's not going to work.
Like you know how they do things sometimes. Like they've even done it this year, where you know, like Wisdom and Morel are a great example, right? Like Wisdom was playing a lot of third, and then they put him out in right field tonight, and they played him some at first. Like I'm just saying, like giving him the regular season in a random ass matchup, maybe there's value to put Wilson at first, and then use someone else as their DH. Because right now, if you got Wisdom and Franmil Reyes and Contreras, That's 3 DHs, but also
That's the White Sox.
Well, that's 3 DHs and like also 2 guys who can play the field too. We've never seen Reyes play the field, but like at least 2 of those guys could play the field. Like they don't have to be your everyday DH like a Reyes, like Framil Reyes has.
I like the flexibility, although I think that flexibility like they have right now in multiple players, like 4 or 5 guys that can kind of play all over the field, and you have 4 guys that can play DH all. That's a better strategy on a bad team than it is on a great team.
True.
Right? Like on a great team, you might have the Zobrist or 1 or 2 guys like that, Zobrist and Bryant, but you don't want too many of those guys. That's where you're trying to fill it up with the Correa and
right. Well, again, that's to me if
Turner,
if they did this, if they were able to find a way to platoon Contreras more into the field, whether it's first base, we saw him play a little outfield in the past too. Like he wouldn't be the best at those positions, but that way you didn't have to DH him or catch him every single day. I think that would be cool. And again, he said all season he loves Chicago. He wants to be here. If the Cubs give him the qualifying offer and tell him what they would like him to be able to do, then maybe he'll stay. I don't know. We'll see. I think it really will just come down to whoever's going to pay him more money and give him a bigger or a longer term deal, like in terms of years.
Should we get to who you got?
You want to tell Ryan about how you bamboozled and?
Oh, now Ryan, Cody and I are now tied.
No, we're not.
No, you're only tied if you agree that you're forfeiting your Maverick point and transferring it to the Stuckey account. Otherwise, you're 1 behind.
Oh yeah, I'm 1 behind. He's not giving me the Maverick, but I have been finally, rightfully so. We've come to a compromise, a meeting of the minds. The league has decided that Esteban Quiros being picked and calling the shot is worth at least 2 points.
The chat forced it.
Chat forced it.
Stuckey, I think we would have sat on here for pregame the entire game if we didn't.
The chat just got all fired up about it. They were upset about how badly I'd been wronged. Anyway, so they gave me the 2 points. Yes. Cody agreed to the deal.
And he got a point on Saturday.
And I got a point on Saturday, but then Cody won on Sunday, so I'm 1 behind.
Yeah.
With Maverick in the back pocket.
I can't believe you agreed to that, Cody. Do I have to
wait a minute, Ryan. Wait a minute. The following sentence, after I was awarded this, rightfully so, I called 3 points, not 2, but the next thing I said was, now tonight, we should acknowledge that all things being equal, if we have equal performances in tonight's Who You Got, Ryan will be awarded the Who You Got point because it's his birthday. We're going to give it to the birthday boy. And keep in mind, 50 years in a row, I haven't gotten a Who You Got point on my birthday because my birthday's in March. So this is big.
This guy.
I brought Cody. I brought him a pinata on his birthday. I'm giving you Who You Got. I even gave you the bonus of having Hermosillo as a bonus Who You Got tonight.
You say you're giving me Who You Got? I rightfully earned it because Stroman went 7 innings, 1 run.
This was prior to that happening. I had already said.
But you weren't giving it to me. You said if all things were equal.
I said on record, if it's even close, Ryan gets it today.
You did, and I agreed.
I don't know.
All right, what are the official standings then?
25, 24 to 21.
Whoa, we are heating up with 8 to go.
To 2 to 1 to 1 to half to 1 to 3.
Yes.
Now, Cody did not agree to what I suggested was the final week going Jeopardy style and being willing to wager how many points you want to go for Who You Got. So if you wager 3 points and you lose all 3. But if you win, you get 3 points added on. Just put a little extra little.
I have a question. Who do we give the point to on Saturday?
Luke.
I got it on Saturday.
Because Ian Happ had a hit, and you had Wade Miley.
Yeah.
And he didn't do shit. He went 4 innings.
Miley went 4 innings.
And I had Patrick Wisdom who went 0 for 4.
4 runs, 1 earned, and left the game.
Wade Miley went 4 innings, 1 run.
Ryan, your reasons for these are getting more obscure. You fielded the position well.
You learned well from
Wade
Stuckey.
Miley.
You learned well from Stuckey. I'll give you that.
I mean, I appreciate a good challenge, but I don't know if I can go for Wade Miley.
I think this is
for a single in a 6-0 loss.
Yeah.
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 Your guy
it was
the
bad.
losing pitcher of record.
Yeah.
I agree with Katie. She says, I think Ryan is being wronged here.
Yeah, but that was like 5 minutes ago. That was
Ryan,
not about
Saturday.
Saturday.
Saying that no one should have got a point on Saturday?
Still counts.
What? Are you saying that no one should have got a point on Saturday?
I'm saying I should have got the point on Saturday.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. He really did learn well from Stuckey.
Now, and again,
Really
we'll let the Hermosillo carry over to tomorrow. So if Hermosillo gets a hit tomorrow, he's been DFA'd? Mm-hmm. Well, that's not as good of a present as we thought it was, but it's still the count. It's the thought that counts. Yeah. Keep in mind, it's the thought that counts. All right, well, it's getting close. Down to 8 games.
Down to 8.
Yeah. Another thing, I remember when I said the Cubs could stay under 90 losses this season. They only have to go 5-3 the rest of the way.
I mean, it's
avoid 90 losses.
Stunning, Ryan. If they win out and the Sox lose out, they finish with the same record.
Unbelievable. And I'm kind of like,
wow.
Can you think about it that we could be talking about the race to 73?
One team had World Series expectations. The other team has been tanking since day one in the front office, right? They traded away their entire bullpen.
Yeah.
They're tanking. They could end up with the same record. It's the push to 70, but realistically, it could be more than 70. They only need two wins, right?
To get to 70. One more to get to 69.
I only got to go 2-6.
The amount of nice jokes we are going to have tomorrow if the Cubs win.
Yes.
We'll set the over-under at 5.5.
Wisniewski, nice. Also.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He goes tomorrow, right?
Against Nola.
Against Aaron Nola. Ooh, pitching.
You know, something to talk about tomorrow. Will that be his last start of the season?
You might be able to get one out there against the Reds next week.
Maybe not, right?
Should get one more if he stays in the rotation.
Now, if Wisniewski shoves, if he shoves against this Phillies lineup, I'm really going to come on here and be really excited tomorrow.
If he strikes out Schwarbs and Hoskins and Harper and Castellanos, and he starts doing the swagger.
If he's strutting off the mound tomorrow,
he does the big strut.
Oh boy, will I talk myself into thinking this guy should be in the rotation opening day next year. So, just a little taste for y'all.
Cody says, "Got to tell you something in a few minutes. Stick around." What is this?
Yeah, I've been waiting for the moment to talk about the meetup on Friday at Murphy's.
Oh yeah, tell us.
All right, so I tweeted today. I felt bad that, CHGO Cubs couldn't do like a meetup like we did for the White Sox,
right?
The Bears tailgate. We even had a watch party for the Bulls playoff game back in April. We didn't do anything for the Cubs this year. And it's kind of hard, right? Because there's nowhere to tailgate at Wrigley. I think next year we'll probably do something at a bar.
Yeah, we'll have to rent out like a rooftop at some place or something like that.
Something like that. So for me, and this is very unofficial. It's going to be very casual, but I'm going to be at Murphy's and I'm going to go to the game with my girlfriend on Friday. And but again, we're going to meet at Murphy's. I don't know what time they open, but I'm going to try and get there pretty early.
Friday, 5 a.m.
Not 5 a.m. No, but at least a few hours before first pitch. Game starts at 1:20, obviously. So I'd like to at least get there around 10. Again, I don't know what time they open. I'm assuming that they open at least by 10.
I would think so, yeah. Well, if not, you just go over to Do Right for an hour.
There you go. That's a good idea.
Might want to start there.
I'm going – me and my girlfriend will be there. I think Corey, he said on Twitter that he'd come and hang out for a little bit. But, yeah, we're just going to meet up at Murphy's, and we're going to sit in left field Friday afternoon. So if anyone wants to come and, if they want to buy a ticket, tickets aren't going to be that bad. Use the Game Time app.
Game Time app. It's practically free. They almost pay you to go.
Basically, right? So, we're just just to meet up and just kind of. I'd love to meet people who are in the chat or whoever who listens to this podcast, and you can tell me how awful I am or tell me how much you love me. I don't care. But I just want to give a shout out to everyone who has supported us and helped us grow. So
we'll continue to do this throughout the off season.
Right.
So Maybe we'll have a playoff.
But this
one.
is like, again, this is a very unofficial, casual thing. Meet up and just kind of hang out, talk Cubs, maybe talk the off season, have a few beers, maybe some tater tots. The tater tots at Murphy's, bang.
Bring a donut over.
Yeah, there you go. More details on that. Follow CHGO Cubs on Twitter, or follow me at Cody_CHGO. I'm gonna figure out what time I'm gonna go Friday to Murphy's, and then again. Going to sit in left field. So
we'll
if you
put
guys
it on
want to
Twitter, right?
Yeah.
We'll put it on Twitter. We'll talk about it again on postgame tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll keep mentioning it.
We'll keep mentioning it.
So you missed this. If you're listening to it on the podcast later, a couple days later, we'll get the info out there.
Okay.
Cool?
Great.
All right, Ryan, happy birthday. Cubs win. Cubs win. The push to 70 continues, and the Elite Eight are coming up next. We'll be back for a post-game show tomorrow. Thanks for joining us on the CHGO Cubs Postgame Show podcast presented by PointsBet.
Do we have pregame tomorrow, Luke?
We do not have pregame tomorrow, but we do have postgame, and Corey has decided he's going to come in and join us in studio. Wow. So we will have an extra Who You Got player taken tomorrow.
But Corey is definitely going to be Team Stuckey the entire evening.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, the big news is I could catch Cody for first place tomorrow. Fly the W.